As we continue our coverage of the deadly midair collision, joining us now is Shawn Pruchnicki, an aviation safety expert and assistant professor in the College of Engineering at Ohio State University. Shawn, welcome. Good to have you with us. So what type of information will the NTSB be looking into when conducting this investigation now that they have the black boxes recovered?
Well, there's several things they're going to look at. One of the most important parts of that is listening to the CVR, which is the cockpit voice recorder, and that's going to cover any discussion on the flight deck, and it's also going to be able to listen to communications between the flight crew and air traffic control. They're also going to be able to obtain that from the air traffic control tapes. Something we need to think about as well is the black boxes on the helicopter. And the last thing that I heard is that the Department of Defense has those. And that has been challenging in the past to be able to get that information from them. So that could be quite a hindrance to this investigation. So we're going to have to see if the NTSB is going to be able to get that information from them.
And Shawn, we want to talk about potential weather impacts. Air temperatures at the time of the crash, 50 degrees, winds were gusting to 30 miles per hour. Can you talk a little bit about that, the weather impact on flying and on the aircraft? Is that a potential?
At this point in time, Natalie, we don't see that weather played a factor here. This was a clear night, great visibility. The aircraft was, in fact, lined up in what we call stabilized. It was on a stabilized approach. So there's really no indication that the wind or visibility, ceilings, anything like that really played any role in this accident. But again, the NTSB is going to look at that. Did that play a factor? Everyone's talking about the helicopter being a little bit too high. Did that play a factor in helicopter operations is yet to be determined.
So let's talk about Reagan National. I think most know it's one of the busiest airports in the entire country, not only with air travel, but it's just in a high concentrated area. You've got those choppers, you've got Marine One, you've got airlines. So those runways are in constant use there. What kind of challenge does that present to air traffic controllers and just general aviation traffic there?
Yeah, so this is a very unique mix here. We have a high-density area, not only geographically, that everything is kind of in a very small area, but a very high concentration of commercial traffic. But as you mentioned, is that we have a mix. We have a mix of both military, high concentration of military, and commercial. So it makes for a very unique mix of trying to keep those separate. The helicopters do stay over the Potomac. That is a corridor from them. I have flown in there hundreds of times into that airport when I was a commercial pilot. So this is, what they did with having the airplane come around to 3-3. This is very normal that they do this, and it's all matter about expediting, keeping airplanes moving to be able to take off, keeping them landing, and this constant flow of in and out, because it is such a busy airspace.
And according to the FAA, in 2023, pilot deviations, that was the top cause of runway issues. What exactly are these deviations? How do they happen?
Well, there's a couple different reasons why they happen. And when we talk about a pilot deviation is almost always, or at least as far as ground deviations, and those are the ones the FAA has been talking about at Reagan, is when a pilot inadvertently pulls out on a runway when they're not cleared to do so. And there have been numerous cases of that at Reagan. Now, that can be pilot mediated, where they're the ones that make the mistake and pull out. But we've also seen numerous cases over the last several years where air traffic control inadvertently clears someone to cross the runway and they should not have. And this all goes back to controller shortages and some of the near misses that we've had over the last few years directly related to controller shortages and controller fatigue. This is something the NTSB has been talking about for many years, and their worst fear has finally come true. We've all been worried about this.
And Shawn, I just want to get back to something you said earlier about the Department of Defense, under normal circumstances, not being too forthcoming when it comes to black boxes with military crashes and whatnot. If you saw the press conference yesterday from the White House briefing room, Pete Hegseth, the new head of the Defense Department, almost seemed to be alluding to the fact that pilot error. I mean, there was a bunch of claims made without evidence or without fact yesterday during that press conference. But he did allude to the fact that there was a mistake made and almost kind of intimated that the chopper pilot could have potentially been at fault here. With that being said, do you think he would be quicker to divulge what's in the black box that was found on the chopper?
Well, it's not a matter of just simply divulging. They need to give those recordings to the NTSB and not just simply say, yes, our chopper was in the wrong place at the wrong time. The National Transportation Safety Board needs to hear the recording. Anything less than that is completely unacceptable. That just flat out. And that's fine if the DOD, if the military wants to hear those recordings, it's their box, and that's fine. But they also need to share that with the NTSB. And anything less than that is completely unacceptable. And if this administration from the White House actually wants to play an active role in this and do something meaningful, then they need to direct the DOD to, in fact, do that and let the NTSB do their job.
All right. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Shawn Pruchnicki, aviation safety expert and assistant professor in the College of Engineering at Ohio State University. Appreciate you joining us this morning. And stay with CBS News New York.